Quick ask. Subscribe now, then let's jump in with the numbers. You don't need a headline to know Illinois feels different this year. You feel it on a Saturday when the same brick bungalows, split levels, and cul-de-sacs are still there. The Chicago skyline still glows over the lake, but the hum around housing has dropped a few notches. Open house signs go up, but the driveways aren't as full. You walk in and the agent isn't juggling 6 sets of buyers anymore. They're rearranging the same stack of flyers, refreshing their email, pretending not to notice the silence. Scroll Redfin or Zillow, and you see the pattern your gut already picked up. Listings that should have been gone weeks ago now wear price improvement tags like a quiet apology. Suburban colonials, downstate ranches, in-city condos. Different zip codes, same story. Sellers who thought they could name their number are suddenly motivated, even if the description doesn't use that word. If you've caught yourself wondering, did something break in the background? You're not crazy. The Illinois housing crash isn't some dramatic headline yet. It's living in seller behavior, one longer dom and one price cut at a time. Tonight, we're mapping 8 cities where that unease has already turned into panic. For years, Illinois sold itself as the calm middle of the map. While the coast lit up with bidding wars and million-dollar starter homes, the story here was different. Solid jobs, familiar neighborhoods, prices that felt reasonable. Chicago gave you big city prestige. The suburbs offered schools and space, and downstate towns were boring in a good way. When rates dropped to 3%, that story turned into action. Families jumped from renting to owning, stretched for an extra bedroom or a better district, and told themselves, it's the Midwest, it's safer. Small investors bought duplexes and 3 flats, believing cash flow and slow appreciation would quietly take care of the future. But the house didn't change when the era did. What changed was the monthly. Interest rates climbed, insurance climbed, utility bills climbed, property taxes followed reassessments that were anchored to yesterday's peak comps. Renovation costs that were supposed to normalize never really did. Suddenly, that same brick colonial or 2-flat that felt tight but manageable at 3% now feels suffocating at 7%, especially with an Illinois tax bill stapled on top. Illinois didn't crack because people stopped liking it. It cracked because the payment outran the paycheck. Deep down, sellers already know. Panic in a housing market doesn't start with auctions on the courthouse steps. It starts with small, repeatable signals that most people only notice in hindsight. Days on market creep up compared to last year. Homes that would have vanished after 1 weekend now sit through 3. List-to-sale ratios slip as offers come in, under ask, not above. You see more red arrows on price history and sometimes 2 or 3 cuts on the same address. Inventory stops flying off the shelf and instead quietly builds. Deals that would have been waved through in 2021 now fall apart over inspections, appraisals, or financing, sending properties back on market with slightly tighter copy and slightly more quietly nervous owners. At the same time, the math underneath is unforgiving. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, assessments, and utilities stack up against paychecks that haven't doubled since 2020. Sellers feel that gap first. Agents start suggesting, we may need to get more aggressive, and the people who swore they would never negotiate suddenly offer buy-downs, closing credits, and repair money just to keep a buyer at the table. That's what panic looks like in grown-up terms, and it's the lens for all 8 cities ahead. We'll start the countdown where the cracks are easy to miss if you only skim headlines. Number 8 is Springfield, the state capital that always sold itself as steady. Government paychecks still clear, hospitals still run, but 1990s and 2000s subdivisions tell a different story. Starter and mid-tier homes slide past 30, 45 days on market. The first price cut shows up sooner, and the second one isn't unthinkable anymore. Sellers who anchored to 2022 comps are discovering that buyers, especially on fixed incomes or mid-level salaries, now negotiate around the monthly, not the myth. Number 7 is Rockford, long pitched as the bargain. Big houses, lower prices, room to breathe. The bargain feels thinner when you add utilities on older square footage, insurance on aging roofs, and lenders probing every furnace and panel. First-timers and investors push harder on inspection credits, walk more often, and only move when the payment truly fits. At 6, Peoria still has its healthcare and university backbone, but the easy investor story has cooled. Townhomes and older single families that need real upgrades sit longer, and rising HOAs plus looming repair bills turn what once felt like stretch and grow into a no. Now we move into 6, the suburbs that were supposed to be the safe choice. Number 5 is Joliet in the wider Will County belts, where the identity was simple. Logistics jobs, commuter access, solid new-build tracks that felt like an upgrade from cramped, closer-in neighborhoods. In 2025, those same subdivisions are learning what higher rates and longer commutes really cost. Builders quietly roll out buy-downs, closing credits, free appliance packages. Resale sellers either match the new math or watch their listings age, cutting price in steps that always seem one move behind the market. Number 4, along the Waukegan and North Chicago corridor, still sells lake proximity and transit on paper. But the line items tell another story. Taxes are heavy. HOAs climb to cover roofs, masonry, elevators, and buyers actually read the board minutes now. Mid-tier condos and townhomes take multiple reductions before serious offers appear. At number 3, Naperville Aurora's condo and townhome tiers are where the status story meets a hard ceiling. Top-tier schools and amenities still matter, but HOA dues, master insurance, and aging common elements push total monthly costs past what even dual-income households are willing to swallow. And this isn't the peak of the pressure. Now we reach the top 2, where the story finally admits it has changed. At number 2 are Chicago's non-prime condo belts, the edges of the South Loop and West Loop, slices of Edgewater and Uptown, where the elevator and lobby used to sell the dream. Today, buyers underwrite the building before they even care about the granite. They read HOA budgets, scan reserves, and flinch at special assessments for roofs, boilers, garages, and windows. Units priced off 2021 still sit, then cut, then offer buy-downs and closing credits just to hold a nervous buyer in escrow. Number 1 is the surprise for a lot of people. The Schaumburg Oak Brook condo and townhome corridors. On paper, it's the forever suburb. Malls, offices, big box retail, solid schools, jobs close by. In practice, 2025 numbers stack up differently. Days on market creep higher, inventory stacks, and a big share of listings quietly join the price cut column. Once you add taxes, HOA dues, utilities, and the upgrades every 15 to 25-year-old property needs, the reasonable monthly breaks. Sellers who expected to name their number now watch as showings slow and negotiations turn sharp. And this is exactly where panic feels loudest for sellers. If you're a buyer or renter in Illinois right now, your job is not to sprint. It's to move like an adult in a cracking market. That means changing what you pay attention to. Instead of chasing fresh listings, build your watch list out of the homes that have been sitting 21, 30, 45 days or more, especially after a second price cut. Those prices are not sacred, they're questions. Is anyone really willing to pay this monthly? You never answer that question blindly. Keep your inspection and your financing contingencies. Let the inspection report become a negotiating tool, not a formality. Credits for roofs, furnaces, windows, or electrical work, plus a permanent rate buy-down and closing cost help, are not wild asks in a market where sellers are nervous. They're normal. Then you run the one model almost nobody does under pressure, your 5-year monthly. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, HOA or assessments, utilities, and obvious repairs on one side, realistic rent on the other. If owning only works after financial gymnastics, it doesn't work yet. Calm operators don't chase somebody else's 2022 story. They protect their future selves, even if that means letting the perfect kitchen go by. That is real discipline. If you're a seller in Illinois right now, the market is not out to get you, but it will punish denial. Pricing off peak headlines is how you chase the market down. Anchor yourself to what's actually closing and what's pending in your subdivision today, not to what a neighbor bragged about in 2021. A pre-inspection turns hidden landmines into known line items. Fix the true deal killers, decide what you won't fix, and walk buyers through that openly. Then lead with a real incentive package from day one, a permanent rate buy-down and honest closing cost help, so you control the story instead of bleeding through tiny public cuts. If you're an investor, this phase is a stress test, not a lottery ticket. Appreciation and refi fantasies are bonuses, not a business model. Focus on assets in job-resilient areas that actually pay you to hold them after taxes, insurance, HOA or assessments, maintenance, and reserves. If the deal only works in a best-case scenario, it doesn't work. Illinois isn't finished. It's being repriced back toward reality. Drop your city, zip, days on market, and price cut stories below. Subscribe, and watch for the Illinois comeback map in the next breakdown. We'll navigate it together.